As a dermatologist, one of the first things I tell my patients is that the secret to great hair, well, it isn't actually about the hair, it's about the scalp. So, in this explainer, we're going to dig into the science of a really cool natural ingredient that gets right to the root of things bentonite clay. So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to do a quick deep dive into your scalp's anatomy. Gotta know the terrain, right? Then we'll get into the so called healing clay itself and figure out how it actually detoxifies your hair. After that, we get hands on with a DIY mask, and we'll wrap up by talking about the results you can get from a simple weekly ritual. All right, first things first. Before we can talk about how any treatment works, we have to understand the foundation. And for your hair, that foundation is 100% your scalp. So let's take a closer look. I mean, really think about it. It's easy to just ignore, but the skin on your head is this incredibly complex organ, and understanding its layers is absolutely key because that's what determines how well any product can actually get in there and do its job. Okay, so your scalp has three main layers. Up top, you've got the epidermis. Think of it as the gatekeeper. Below that is the dermis. This is where the real action is. It's home to your hair follicles and the glands that produce your natural oils. Then deeper down is the subcutaneous tissue. But for what we're talking about today, the health of that dermis is everything. So now that we know what our scalp looks like up close, let's bring in our star player, an ingredient that works beautifully with these layers, bentonite clay. Bentonite clay is pretty amazing stuff. It's basically just aged volcanic ash. It's completely natural, packed with minerals, and people have been using it for literally centuries all over the world for its healing and purifying properties. Okay, so what's the actual science here? How does this earthy, ancient clay manage to clean your hair and scalp so incredibly well? Honestly, the best and simplest way to think about how bentonite clay works is to picture it as a magnet. It has this really unique ability to latch onto all the gunk, the impurities, the toxins, the product buildup, and pull it right out. Now, if you want to get a little nerdy with me, from a dermatology standpoint, it's pretty cool. The clay itself has a negative electrical charge, and all the stuff we want to get rid of, like toxins, heavy metals, excess oil, and product gunk, it all has a positive charge. So opposites attract. The clay literally pulls those impurities to it like a magnet. And this right here is what makes it so different from a lot of synthetic cleansers. So many shampoos can be really harsh, stripping your scalp of its natural protective oils, which can lead to dryness and irritation. But bentonite clay is smarter. It clarifies, but it doesn't strip. It takes the bad stuff and leaves the good stuff behind. So the whole process breaks down into three super simple steps. 1. You add water to the clay, and that wakes it up. It expands and gets electrically charged. 2, that negative charge starts attracting all those positively charged impurities. And 3, when you rinse the clay out, it takes all that trapped gunk with it. Simple as that. Okay, so we get the science. Now, for the fun part. Let's make this practical. You do not need some fancy, expensive product to get these benefits. You can whip up a really powerful hair mask right in your own kitchen. And the recipe could not be easier. You really only need 3 core ingredients: the bentonite clay itself, some warm water to activate it, and a little bit of apple cider vinegar. The vinegar is great because it helps balance your hair's pH, which gives it a really nice shine. So to make it, you're just going to mix about a cup of the clay with a cup of warm water and about a half cup of apple cider vinegar. Just stir it all up until you get a smooth, thick paste, kind of like yogurt. If it feels a little too thick to spread, just splash a bit more water in. Now, just apply it all through your hair. Make sure you get it right on the scalp and work it all the way down to the ends. Let it sit for about, say, 5 to 15 minutes. And here's the most important tip. Do not let it dry completely or it'll be a real pain to rinse out. Then just wash it all out with warm water until your hair feels totally clean. All right, so you've done it once. What now? How often should you be doing this, and what kind of real-world results can you actually expect to see? So how often? Well, from my clinical perspective, especially for those with really dry or brittle hair, the sweet spot is just once a week. That's it. You don't need to overdo it. Making this a simple weekly ritual is more than enough to help restore balance and moisture to your scalp. And remember, consistency is everything. You'll probably feel your hair is softer and shinier after just one use, but the real magic happens over time. You'll start to notice less fleeking, less irritation. If you have curls, they'll be more defined. But the most important thing is you're creating this amazing, unclogged, healthy environment for your hair to grow from. So, at the end of the day, it's pretty clear. A healthy scalp is the true foundation for healthy hair. And that leaves me with one final question for you. Is your current routine just masking symptoms on the surface? Or is it finally getting to the root of the problem?